Here we go. Shelflife 30. The big 30, 30. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been here, you know what to expect. If you have not been here, welcome. And we're going to talk about some books. What has been going on? I'm tired. It's late. It's Sunday at, 8:40. I'm in my compression socks and all my recovery gear. I did 18 miles today. I'm a week out from peak week. I'll do 22 next week, and next weekend's going to be an absolute potty mouth show. And it's cold. It's been like really warm, and then you have all the windows open, and then you shut the windows and you don't want to turn the heat back on. So I've just had like this chill. And when I went running today, I expected to be like in my tank top the whole time, and I disappointingly needed to wear my coat. Again, no gloves, but coat again. But since then, I haven't been able to feel like I'm able to get hydrated, even though I drank a bunch of pickle juice, whole bunch of salt, whole bunch of water. I've been eating like crazy, but I'm just like cold and tired and a little bit exhausted. But anyways, that's what's been going on. I was missing something. Oh, my book haul. Recently, I got some book mail, and I got some new book stuff. Let's see. I came downstairs. I brought a whole bunch of stuff down here and got organized, and that was a mistake. So, I don't know if you saw my Instagram post. Where's this other book? I got 3 books this week. 2 from NYRB, and another one I had ordered just because the universe was telling me to order it. So, from NYRB, I got The Long Ships. I heard that this was more of a straight narrative. It's fun. It's about like all the little shenanigans that the Vikings got themselves into. The long voyage. Let's see. I'm just picking up on stuff in here. But it like a straight narrative, fun adventure, Viking stuff. I like that. And then while I was on the NYRB page, and while I have been trying to write more short stories and fiction, why not learn from the master? So I got In the Heart of the Country by William H. Gass. Gass is the man. I originally read, I don't know where it is, Omen Setter's Luck and The Tunnel. Amazing. And I've heard great things about this particular short story and all the accompanying short stories that are in this edition. So very excited that I grabbed that. Another one that I grabbed was Black Mountain Poems, an anthology. Once I posted on Instagram that I was reading Ezra Pound, some people said, hey, you should check out Black Mountain Poems. And then I saw another couple other people where I kind of trust their recommendations. They posted this exact same book. So like I said, the universe was kind of like, you need to get that. So I got it, and it was dope. Not that it was dope. It's just dope to have it. But we'll get into the poetry section in a minute. But I hung out with my other buddy he works at like a book redistribution place. Wherever you donate books or you get used books, he gets all these bins and he goes through everything. And whenever I see him, he usually has a stack of fun things. Maybe it's not necessarily in my wheelhouse, but he's just thinking of me and I appreciate him. So he grabs it from the pile of what he calls OPB, other people's books. So he always usually has a stack for friends. And he grabbed me, let me know if you've ever read or seen these, a graphic novel called Black Metal from, who's this by? It's all covered up. It looks like it used to be an old library book. It doesn't say. Looks like young adults. Chuck Beebe, Williamston Public Library. I don't know where that is, but cool. I like comics. This looks like an easy, fun afternoon when I don't feel like thinking. So I'll put that somewhere. And he always has a whole bunch of fun occult books. If he sees the occult books, it's either going to his personal library or straight to mine. So he got me The Garden of Pomegranates by Israel Regardi. Don't know much about this, but he said that this was kind of like, it belongs in your library. So grab that. He got me this old gem. The Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage, translated by S.L. McGregor Mathers. Don't know anything about this, but it looks like an old cool book with a whole bunch of fun pictures. It's got all these like old school beginnings to chapters. I just like this kind of stuff. And then he got me this, the Encyclopedia of Witchcraft and Demonology by Russell Hope Robbins, Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature. Look at this. I think this might be a first edition. I'm not sure, but it looks like it's 1959. It was put together, and that's the only date in here. I don't know how to check beyond that. It was, I don't know even know where it was, but I saw it in there. It looks cool. It has all these sick old woodcuts and just a bunch of stuff. Like, that looks cool. And you know, I like flipping through this kind of stuff. I remember when I was a young, look at this. This looks torturous. Horrors of the Inquisition. Sick. I remember when I was a kid, before, you know, there were like, you could just Google stuff. I didn't get into like computer class until like 7th grade. That was the first time I touched a real computer. So I remember, what the heck? A Medley of Crudelty, Superstition, and Fanaticism by William Hogarth. This looks effed. Very cool. So I like this art a lot. So I used to go through and I would flip through books like this, and I used to flip through, like, in school they used to have like whole volumes of encyclopedias, and I used to just flip through them looking at pictures, and I would like draw out of them and use them as reference pictures. But my buddy's thinking of me, and he knows me from way back in the day, so that was kind of cool. So that's kind of all the books I gathered. Back on Black Mountain Poems, I think I told you guys, or I posted something where I ran out of listening time on Spotify. They only give you so many hours before you have to purchase, and I'd rather buy physical media than listen to digitalized media. But with that being said, Charles Olson, who is one of apparently the OGs of modern poetry, he has like an album on Spotify that you can listen to like it's music. So I listened to him, and I was like, the power that is given by voice in poetry it was kind of striking. I was like, wow, you know, it being read and being, it's kind of like reading books and listening to books. It's two different experiences. So I was like, wow, what an interesting way to deliver that written word. So that was it's been in my mind. I thought it was kind of cool. And with writing short stories and stuff and getting into writing more and being more creative, I do the daily haikus. So then we got a little bit longer. We started writing more poetry, and I'm starting to take seriously fiction. And I'm really giving myself permission to suck. I'm on second draft of something I've been working on, and it's just brutal. Chop, chop, chop. Anybody ever watch A River Runs Through It, where the dad's like, again, half as long? That's kind of what I keep saying to myself. And I've, in getting into Ezra Pound, I saw a thing today on how he would just annihilate editing other people, like T.S. Eliot's works. He was just like, nope, get rid of this, move this down here, and he was just like ruthless. So I'm kind of doing the same thing. On to reading. Let's see some reading. On to the books I'm reading. Current reads. I got so many current reads right now. Like I said, selected poems of Ezra Pound. Poetry's been getting kind of strong lately. I've been liking it. Ezra Pound is very referential, I'm coming to discover. It's something, it's kind of like, you know, wading through a swamp. You don't know everything that's going on with the swamp. There's all sorts of critters and creatures and plants you don't know and things that are happening, and you could be easily startled, but just enjoy hanging out in the swamp. It's fun. I kind of have the analogy of, while you don't know everything that's going on, like if you listen to music, you can make the metal face like, I feel like that's the kind of pictures I'm being painted through reading Ezra Pound. I don't know all the references, and he's very referential. He's like, it's like he read a reference book from Lord of the Rings from like 40 AD, and I'm supposed to know about this, and he wrote a poem about some king. But, and while I don't know anything about that, what he's writing about said king, it's like, all right, Metal Face, I kind of get the gist of what you're saying here. So, that's something I'm reading. Who have we been with? The Count, the other great narrative, and it was written serially. I'm getting warm. See? You guys are warming me up. I finished another chapter of this, and I got to the end of Mazzolata. Pretty much there's a one section where the Count, Franz, and his buddy Albert are hanging out, and they're about to see an execution. And one guy was supposed to be guillotined, and then that didn't happen. And then I saw this part where the guy was so mad that he was not going to be executed with a buddy. It's like, why are you going to be that indignant that like you're going to? First of all, you should be pissed that you're going to get executed. Even for me, it's like even if I did something terrible, if I'm getting executed, I'm not going to be happy that day. But like to get all upset that like that guy got pardoned. Apparently he was mad, throwing a fit. And then I read this section, and I'd like to read it to you. And I was just like, whoa, this is sick. Let's see. Then he stepped away. Injunction. Franz was there. Two assistants had carried the condemned man onto the scaffolding, and there, despite his efforts, his bites and his cries, they had forced him to his knees. Meanwhile, the executioner had taken up the position on one side and raised the mace. Then, on a sign, the two assistants stepped aside. The prisoner wanted to get to his feet, but before he had time to do so, the club struck him on the left temple. There was a dull, muffled sound. The victim fell like a stricken bull, face downward. Then, on the rebound, turned over on his back. At this, the executioner dropped his mace, pulled the knife out of his belt, cut open his throat with a single stroke, and immediately stepping on his belly, began, as it were, to knead the body with his feet. At each stamping of the foot, a jet of blood spurted from the condemned man's neck. This time, Franz could bear it no longer. He flung himself backwards into the room and collapsed on a chair, half senseless. Albert, with his eyes closed, remained standing, but only because he was clasping the curtains. The Count stood upright and triumphant like an avenging angel. Bro, this is amazing. This is what I'm talking about. And then next I have chapter 36, The Carnival in Rome. We're saving that for this week. But like this book is like reading the best season you want to binge watch ever. Like this book is awesome. And I am savoring it. I know some people have said that they've rushed through books. This is one I am very happy I'm not plowing through. So, on Friday, we've been reading this one. This is amazing. We're going to talk about this in a minute. But on Friday, I came home from work, and I didn't have my booth. And that means I didn't get to eat my lunch in my normal spot. So I got stuff out of my lunchbox, and I put it in my toolbox. And then when I left, I forgot all of it there, including this and my notebook to talk to you guys. And crap. I'm not going to go now. I'm going to go hang out with my buddy. And then after I went late at night, snag this again. But I wanted to read. What's going to hold me over? Something this big's going to hold me over. And it was my first Roberto Bolaño book, Antwerp. This book, here, I got some notes on it. It was just like, this was kind of poetry in its own right, but more leaning towards prose. Every page or page and a half is its own chapter. And it's like a vision. It's like a collection of pages. Some of them are only dialogue, and other ones are just thought. And like, I don't think there's any names in here at all. There might be one or two, but it's like the Englishman, or the policeman, or the girl with the motorcycle, or the redhead. And it's very vague, but it's got this creepy mystery effect to it. It's kind of like there's crime scene. There's like a murder in a camp, and you're following this detective who's trying to figure out what's going on. There's a hunchback that everyone's suspicious of. These young girls are brought in to kind of identify someone. Then it flashes to them all dancing, and then there's like, whoa, kind of sex scenes with like police corruption. Like, it's all over the place. And this was a plow book because it's only 78 pages. And it's like, all right, well, I know I'm going to get Solenoid back in like a couple hours. So I read that in like 2 sittings, and then I went back to the intro. I don't like reading introductions. Don't spoil things for me. I found there's spoilers in like anything supplemental. But I went back and I saw that Bolaño wrote that early, like when he was just starting, and it was like a collection, and he was doing something kind of experimental because he had a scorn for official literature. And I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. And it's pretty good. I don't know if his other stuff is more like this. I'm now kind of intrigued by him. And we'll get there. But this was an impulse purchase, and I'm very happy that I did it. I highly recommend this one for a quick sit. Let's see, do I have anything else in here? Antwerp, very poetic images. It's like images, not film, or gestures, written ghosts. There's graphic scenes, sadness, confusion, a lot of dialogues to ideas, and then I read the intro, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's see. Now, this has been like the main course. This has been the main meal lately. Let's see if I can, bear with me for a second. I'm going to see if I can find something. Because I had been annotating quite a bit, and then I stopped because I wasn't seeing anything so striking. And then there was one section that I was like, whoa, this is amazing. I hope I could find it for you guys. I don't want to make you wait. Oh, there it is. So this isn't a spoiler part, but our protagonist, as protagonist as he can be, he's a teacher, and he has a relationship with the physics teacher. And she was kind of like trying to scope out this guy's personality, who he is. And it's the age-old question of, if there was a burning building and there was something precious in the house and a child, what would you save? And he was like, immediately, the child. And then she kept upping it, like, what if it was the Mona Lisa? And then she just kept going on and on and on. And then he said this, and I didn't reread this before I'm talking to you guys, so I hope it strikes. But for me, in the moment, it was like, damn, that was good. Irina, I said, still looking out the window. So he's about to give his final answer. If someone told me that a child was, she asked, like, well, what if you knew that, like, not only like there's going to be the Mona Lisa to save instead of this child, but what if you knew that, like, maybe this kid is going to turn out to be Pol Pot or Stalin or Hitler? Like, what if you knew that too? She was just doing anything to pretty much get him to say, I would just sacrifice the child. So here's his answer. Irina, I said, still looking out the window, if someone told me that child was going to be Hitler, I would know in that moment that I am being deceived and tested, that I'm being tested by the one who once said, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down from the top of the temple, and angels would bear thee up. I would be even more sure to choose that child, Irina, because a child doesn't have only one future. He has billions of credos ahead of him. Any pebble he steps on, any blade of grass he looks at, is the switch that can change the track of his life is riding on. Every moment of his life is a fork in the road. No infant is destined to order the slaughter of the innocent. In another future, he might be the one who saved them. In another, maybe the one to paint Herod's slaughter. Before us is an endless branching of worlds, but without the child at the start, none of them exist. Oh, yes. So, amazing. I like, you just saw the reaction. I had the same reaction again. And I read a good chunk after that. I'm a little bit past part 3 before chapter 40 on page 338. This is a 638 page book, so little past halfway. I'm really enjoying it. It's awesome. And then, let's see. there are other things about the book I also want to talk about. There are some themes. It's starting to get very surreal. At first, it was kind of like we're setting the scene, but now there's getting weird stuff. There's dreams. There's statues that are waking up. I don't like, because I'm a dad, how kids are treated in this book. There's two parts to this. Him being a teacher and the way children are treated in the society, i.e. the other teachers and how they smack kids and how they just treat them like they treat kids terrible. It really bothers me. And then also in the writing, you see how the protagonist was also treated as a child and how he's dealing with that trauma. So, and it's just like, if I heard any of these stories, like I would be right in that school. If I had a neighbor or like where are the parents? It's bothersome for me, and that's probably part of it, part of the book. Like deal with that feeling, but some parts it's just like I'm upset. So yeah, there's that. I don't like that. The book is great, but like personally, I don't like that. There's another section of these group of people called the Picketists, and I think they're hysterical. It's these people who are upset about death, aging, disease, the uncontrollable parts of life, and they go around and they protest it. They go around and protest hospitals, they protest morgues, they protest cemeteries. Down with death, like you're yelling for the sake of yelling, and it's kind of funny. So there's a lot of that, and that seems to be escalating, but it's just so absurd, and it's a fun part of the read. It's like, the Picketists are even the name, the Picketists, and there seems to be a number of themes that keep coming up, like the body and how you are not part of your meat prison, larvae and being infected by bugs or mites or lice. That seems to be a big thing. I keep seeing the same descriptions like azure blues, and there's a couple of other ones, but there's a couple of repetitive things. I don't know if this was because of the translation and there's just not the right word, and there were more words in Romanian, I think this was written in, but there seems to be driving descriptions of things that are repetitive. Not that they're bad, but they are noticeably repetitive. I read the game part, and yeah, with that one reading part, like you can see that there from the protagonist there is hope in the scum of this book. So there is a life force and a goodness that's coming out of this bleakness. And I'm halfway through, so we'll see if that continues. So I said I was listening to Charles Olson, and he, like the voice, that was very striking. So with that, I've been reading a bit myself. I posted one of these on Instagram. So if you would entertain this, I'm going to read one of my poems that I wrote off the cuff, and I just wrote it. This is unedited, first draft, but it just spewed out of the hand. So here we go. Untitled. In that gray, start over. In that dusk gray, under stirring angry skies, over drab bent stems, kicking, breathing, running, stabs. Generations of writhing, twisting limbs in locomotion, watching time stir in the new, clinging to the jovial eyes. Energetic ups and downs, the sun nowhere to be found. We stir the breath and blood, the mud and rock roll not, but we stare up, looking down. Gravity pulls us like bats, crawling on the ceiling round, defiance on this speck in the looming air of Mars. Light never had such privilege, construction of our own liquids, bearing meaning on this world. Aeons of dancing helix, sparkle of the time not now, a spark that may be nothing, but for now, it is all that ever was. So, thank you for having that moment. And with that, that is the end of Shelf Life 30. Quick announcements. Oh, like and subscribe if you're into this. And on this front, like I said, it was going to be a wild time. If you are in the New England area, specifically Manchester, New Hampshire, on Friday, May 2nd, I think it's going to be. I'm going to be in Manchester. I'm going to go to Bookery, which is on Main Street or Elm Street, Route 3. I'll probably be there at like 7 before it closes, and then I'm going to Bad Burger down the road because my band Crimson Mask is playing at 9. So if you like to come by, say hi, listen to some music, or come hang out at the bookstore, that'd be cool. Aside from that, thank you all again. Love you all, and I will see you next week. Later.